Hello and welcome to the No One Asked You podcast. This series, I am once again joined by my wonderful co-host, That Darn Kitty.
Dorkus and I are sharing our experience reading The Way of Kings for the first time. Each episode we will summarize what we read and discuss the experience along the way.
This is Storming the Archives, The Way of Kings, and today we discuss Chapter 12.
Chapter 12!
Chapter 12, Unity. Today is an excellent day to kill a god. King Elhokar leads a procession of 1,000 soldiers on a hunt. Adolin is put on edge by Sadeas's response. He's always put on edge whenever Sadeas speaks. Adolin rides in Shardplate with his brother, close to King Elhokar, Sadeas, Dalinar, and Vama. He notes the king is resplendent in golden Shardplate, and that anyone, even Sadeas, could look impressive in such armor. How could you not show off when wearing Shardplate? Only one person chooses not to adorn their armor, Adolin's father, Dalinar. Dalinar appears a soldier through and through. He rides upon a Rashadium stallion. Dalinar wears his plate as if it were his natural state. To be seen without it would be considered abnormal. Adolin speaks with his brother Renarin, whom some people find discomforting. His father looks troubled. Dalinar has had another vision the previous night during the high storm. Soldiers have begun to gossip that Dalinar Kholin was going mad. Dalinar frequently mentions the Knights Radiant after his episodes. Adolin notes his father was the Blackthorn, a genius of the battlefield and a living legend. He and his brother had reunited Alethkar's warring high princes after centuries of strife. To Adolin, Dalinar is the greatest man alive. Renarin doesn't want to ride near Sadeas because he doesn't like how Adolin gets around him. Adolin believes Sadeas will strike as Dalinar's reputation weakens. Renarin hopes to calm Adolin down by talking about the hunt, but Adolin doesn't care for hunting. He prefers dueling. The conversation turns to Yanala. Adolin's relationships tend to burn out quickly, and in this case it seems Adolin was at fault. The words, "unite them," whisper in Dalinar's mind. King Elhokar is impatient with how long the hunt is taking. He impetuously bets Dalinar 5 full bromes that he can beat him to the top of a nearby vantage point before immediately racing off. Dalinar curses and rushes after him, leaving Adolin in command. Dalinar still thinks of Elhokar as a boy, even though he's 27 years old. Against his frustration, Dalinar admits it did feel good to charge so freely, facing the wind. For a moment, he forgets his troubles as he determines to give Elhokar a real run for his money. The race is close, and it looks as if Dalinar is going to win, but at the very end, the words, "unite them," once again enter into his mind, causing him to hesitate and giving Elhokar the win. Elhokar's triumph and joy causes Dalinar to smile. He notes that the king needs victories these days as glory spren begin to appear. Dalinar realizes just how much Elhokar looks like a young King Gavilar as the two scan the shattered plains. Dalinar has a moment of deja vu, as if he'd been there before, but it's gone in an instant. The two chat about their destination while Dalinar reminisces about Gavilar. Dalinar bringing up Elhokar's father makes Elhokar uncomfortable as he does not like being compared to his father. Dalinar notes Elhokar's carefree attitude with regard to racing freely in a war zone is in contrast to his paranoia 2 nights prior. Elhokar comments he can handle enemy soldiers with a blade in hand, but it's when all is dark and quiet that there is cause for concern. Dalinar can't blame him for his paranoia after what happened to his father. Dalinar has been looking into an issue for Elhokar. Elhokar is confident that someone was watching him at night, though Dalinar found no trace of trespassers. Dalinar is determined to protect his nephew, and feels tremendous loss over the death of his brother, King Gavilar. He notes that Alethi scribes guess the Parshendi number is 3/4 their prior strength. As he contemplates this, Dalinar has a sudden realization. He has stood atop a plateau like this before, during his very first vision. He reflects on the words he had heard then. "You must unite them. You must prepare. Build of your people a fortress of strength and peace, a wall to resist the winds. Cease squabbling and unite. The Everstorm comes." Dalinar tries to speak, but cuts himself off. He doesn't know how to bring himself to say that he'd been seeing visions, that they defy doctrines and common sense, that they might be visions from the Almighty, and that he believes they should withdraw from the shattered plains. The two head back to the others. Adolin absent-mindedly takes in reports as he contemplates his relationship woes. Yanala loved epic poems. Perhaps he had been wrong not to invite her to the hunt. Perhaps he could spin something to Rilla to make him sound more empathetic over the matter. He gives his orders to a scout lord, then eyes the king and Dalinar at the vantage point. Elhokar jumps off the cliff, dropping some 40 feet. Adolin imagines his father cursing. He watches his father take a safer way down while noting Dalinar seems to take the safer pathway much more frequently. And he often seems to find reason to give me command as well. Adolin, in deference to his father, notes that the Alethi war codes dictate he must be in uniform even though it's uncomfortable, and even though Dalinar and his sons seem to be the only ones to still follow the centuries-old codes. A pair of light eyes rudely denigrate Dalinar. Adolin can't challenge them to a duel at this time. He'd have to find another setting in which to put them in their places. Adolin is troubled by the truth in the gossip. Alethi princedoms are more like kingdoms unto themselves. Although Elhokar had inherited the throne, Dalinar ruled the Kholin princedom. While most high princes give only token nods to the king, Elhokar has no land of his own. Because Dalinar cedes his own land and power to his nephew, he's seen as weak in the eyes of the nobility. It used to be that Dalinar had been feared, but now he spends more of his time and energy on bureaucratic endeavors, while the others fight for glory and riches, killing the Parshendi. Adolin blames the delusions. Dalinar isn't weak, just troubled. Sadeas hates that Adolin has a blade while he has none. Adolin delivers his reports to Elhokar, who finds them tedious. Dalinar chastises the king, who would prefer to proceed without troops. Dalinar stands firm and Elhokar yields, deciding to wait while the army crosses to the next plateau. Dalinar, Adolin, and Renarin look out over the plateaus toward the origin, the place where high storms begin. Adolin wants to wrap the hunt up quickly. Dalinar notes that when he was Adolin's age, hunting was a highlight of the year. Adolin feels that hunting is merely letting others wear out the great beasts until they're too tired to fight back. It's not honorable. Dalinar notes that hunting is a grand tradition and the king had insisted upon it. Renarin brings up Rilla and Yanala. Dalinar comments that he can't keep up with all of Adolin's courtships. Adolin questions how Elhokar can be so eager to fight a chasm fiend while also being so paranoid. Dalinar explains to Adolin that Elhokar's decision to hunt is born of worry that his subjects see him as a coward over his fear of assassins. A hunt should be a way to prove his courage. Foolish, perhaps, but suitable for improving his reputation. Dalinar has been encouraging and teaching Elhokar how to lead. Adolin reflects on the sense in Dalinar's words and thinks to himself, how can the others whisper that he's a coward? Can't they see his wisdom? Dalinar comments that he wants to convince the king to leave the Shattered Plains. Dalinar has realized that although the High Princes appear united out on the Shattered Plains with a common enemy in the Parshendi, the truth is that they're united in name only. They truly fight for their own wealth and prestige. Wealth and prestige are what being Alethi is about, father! What of the Vengeance Pact? Dalinar hates the Parshendi for what they did, but there are more important things than vengeance. Gavilar's life work was to unite Alethkar. Adolin implores his father not to talk to the king about withdrawing, but Dalinar seems determined to, once he finds a way to broach the topic. It's time to move on, so Adolin goes to collect more reports. Adolin is jealous of the folks who had the opportunity to fight with his father during his glory days. Dalinar changed after the death of his brother. Adolin fights at the Shattered Plains, hoping that if they can beat the Parshendi, maybe his father would go back to being the man he had been. Dalinar and Sadeas had once been friends, but now they barely tolerate one another. The day wears on. Dalinar compliments Adolin on his command. A newcomer approaches, the king's wit. He has blue eyes, but is not considered a light eyes nor a dark eyes. Wit makes a couple of jokes about Adolin's love life. The king's wit is not a court jester, but a tool used by the king to insult his subjects, behavior which would be considered below the king. This wit is unusual. He had only been with them for a few months, but seems to know things he shouldn't, important and useful things. Renarin does not respond to Wit's greeting, but Wit baits him into an angry response. Dalinar does not like Wit, nor does he think his sons are deserving of mockery, though Adolin believes Wit has always been good-natured with Renarin. Wit leaves, but not before whispering, "Those who deserve my mockery are those who can benefit from it, bright Lord Dalinar. That one is less fragile than you think him." Adolin likes Wit, though Renarin finds him unnerving. The three of them meet with King Elhokar and the Huntmaster. The bait has been tossed down and everything is set up for the hunt. Adolin reflects on the grand bows which had been brought for the hunt. Grand bows are recent creations that make use of fabrial science to fire large shafts. King Gavilar's widow, Navani, and Yasna had led the research teams that created the grand bows. Adolin does not like the more popular term, shard bows. They diminish the specialness of shard blades and shard plate, relics from another time. The Huntmaster notes one of the Chulls has been acting oddly all day as it begins to bleat. Something is wrong. Dalinar notes there's no bait attached by rope to the Chull. Something dark, something mind-numbingly enormous, rose out of the chasm on thick, chitinous legs. It climbed onto the plateau, not the small plateau where the hunt was supposed to take place, but the viewing plateau where Dalinar and Adolin stood, the plateau filled with attendants, unarmed guests, female scribes, and unprepared soldiers. That was a very detail-oriented chapter, I think, yeah?
Yeah, lots did happen. Also, just we're in new POVs, so there's a lot to take note of. Yeah,
everything felt so important as
Mhm.
well. So I really didn't want to cut anything.
Yeah, there's actually stuff that like, you had to cut certain things that are like, certain things like Chasm Fiend and all of those kinds of things that like you there is a lot in here.
Yeah. So before we get into any more of the chapter and before we get into the epigraph, which is not a death rattle, this is the first chapter of part 2, which is titled The Illuminating Storms. And it looks to me like the three main POVs we'll get in this part is Dalinar, Kaladin, and Adolin. So I suspect we're going to be putting Shallan on a bit of a hiatus for the moment, yeah?
Yeah, she's off screen doing stuffs.
And the word illuminating seems important and pertinent to Dalinar's revelation.
Yes, Dalinar is getting these visions, like they occur with the storms. So the storms themselves, it's not. We're not talking about lightning lighting up the sky. That's what they illuminate. It's actually no. They're letting us know things. They're giving us
a lifting
messages.
of the veil.
Yeah.
The lifting of that veil speaks to the name of this chapter, unity. Dalinar's whole thing is I have to unite the High Princes.
Yeah. For me, my unity as well, my thought of unite them is also like unite all the peoples of the world. That's what he obviously is thinking the Alethi, because they have been warring. Well, that was their default, is to be just kind of in conflict, and there is an explanation of the political situation then, really what the king is about. We can get to that, but my instinct is like, oh, it's going to need more than just the Alethi to be united. Everybody's got to be united. Yeah,
I definitely agree with that, and we'll get to a thought I have on that shortly. But let's do the epigraph. Old friend, I hope this missive finds you well, though as you are now essentially immortal, I would guess that wellness on your part is something of a given. So, immortality is something that can be obtained.
Just, oh, we got that immortality gem. There you go.
I mean,
I don't know how you get it.
Presumably you agree to go to hell every cycle, right? Because we know the heralds were effectively immortal.
Yep. Yeah.
That makes me wonder who wrote this missive.
Yeah. It's so far out there. I'm like, thanks for that. It's as mystery filled as the death rattles. So not much more I could say is that, okay, it's to someone who's immortal. Like, we don't even know what the missive is, because he's just like, I hope this email finds you well. kind of thing. And now you're like, okay, cool. And now that you're immortal and wellness is good, it's like, okay, what's the missive?
Yeah. But now back to your point about Dalinar having to unite everyone. I had a thought in my mind this week. Did the Parshendi assassinate Gavilar specifically to divide the Alethi before the Everstorm comes? Do they know that the Everstorm is coming? Are they hoping for it to come? Do they want it to come?
And then what? Then
Did,
in the aftermath, then there's no more Lethe, and the Parshendi are the top dogs.
yeah, did they set the ball rolling on this, knowing what would happen?
Possible. Someone might have known, but it's not like the entire of the Parshendi. That's like their religion in the way that they're going towards. That's not the impression I get. It's just that somebody might have wanted that to happen.
Gotcha. There was a specific line when Dalinar is on the plateau. He felt as if he'd been atop this vantage point before, looking down at a broken landscape. Again, on this immortality topic, are these visions perhaps of a past life? Maybe it's immortality by way of reincarnation?
Yeah,
Or something
and
to that effect?
yeah, that's what I was getting. And I mean, there is literally, I went back in the book and looked for the description of the vantage point that they were on in the prologue.
Ooh, nice.
And there was literally spire, the word spark like spire, that's that sort of thing in the beginning, because I actually already looked at that when I looked at the map in the first, that starts off part 1. And it said that there is the tallest plateau over there and whatever. So I'm like, oh, and I went to go and look at that description and it said spire. And now we have aspire, literally the same word. I know that's words are words, but it's very important. The fact that he wants us, he put that there on purpose, in my opinion, because he's standing on that, and they've climbed up really high, and it's been thousands, yeah, I think it's 4,000 years, yeah. So
something like that.
Yeah, so that's not like the thing will be exactly the way it was before. And he's looked from that vantage point before. That also makes me wonder, because he does think the visions are from the Almighty. Are they from the Almighty or from a past herald, the trapped herald? What is it?
Talenalot?
Yeah, I don't know who it is.
Or Tolenel? That's a great question. I don't know. But I want to know. I bet it, because those were the two characters, if you want to call the Almighty a character, that my mind went to when I saw that. This is definitely of divine inspiration, or source. And we do know that they consider the heralds divine, even though we know that they're not.
Yeah, they're under some higher power, which I would expect is the Almighty.
I really like this new cast of characters. I've said it many times now on this podcast. I think I love father-son stories, and Dalinar is such a dad, and Adolin loves and respects his father, tries to honor his father's wisdom, and just likability for these characters are off the charts. Renarin as well.
Yeah, he wants to, defend his father. We get that. He's also got that his father is like the greatest man alive, so you have the feelings that come with having that. There's someone to live up to, and we've also got the brotherly bond as well. The fact that with Renarin, there's also that relationship, which is nice and interesting as well. Oh, I wanted to ask you, because we do have descriptions of shardplate now, a lot of shard. Look, we did have had before, but now we have
Golden
all different kinds. Yes, and that reminded me of the note that you'd made of when we were thinking about that, when we first met some of the heralds and and also when we first saw some type of shard blade, because they're different. A herald blade is different. They coincide with the person's representation or their character. So we've got a red guy, a blue guy, and we've got Dalinar, who doesn't put any color on his, he's just natural. So I thought that was noteworthy.
Yeah, that's very noteworthy, and I think literarily connected to elements of these characters' character.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of a chicken and the egg thing, but it speaks to who they are and how they choose to adorn themselves. And it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like there is some degree of alteration that the characters can make with regard to their shard plate. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if that's how it works with the swords
I
or the
wouldn't think so.
weapons, the
Yeah.
shard blades, yeah. But they can customize their own armor at least. And
Yeah.
that would, of course, be some sort of artistic expression of themselves in the same way that a person who puts clothes on or gets tattoos or something is making some sort of statement of themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have of course, we have the king in gold,
Yeah.
but then we have the fact that Dalinar actually could have just been king because of just his greatness, and he's the guy that's not going to adorn himself in glory and things like that. He's just using the shard plate as a tool.
Yeah.
I like those kinds of the approach to the shard plate is an important thing to note.
Yeah.
For each character.
Let's also note that these characters really dislike Sadeas,
Mm-hmm.
and Kaladin is in Sadeas's war camp.
Dun dun dun. And we're going to hopefully get a POV from Kaladin, so see what that means.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like him either. He the way he goes that word, the thing where he's like,
Elhokar says it's a good day to kill a god, and Sadeas says gods should fear the Alethi.
Yeah, no,
Or nobility.
the one that he says one about Dalinar. He goes, oh well, swords dull, or even the greatest tool dulls, or something like that, and it was like an insult to Dalinar because everyone seems to think that Dalinar he's losing his mind. It's not, he's aging out. It is like, no, actually there are real things. Look, apparently the grandfather had delusions, but I'm in the camp of no, this is real stuff. It's not just just his mind.
Yeah.
I think we're definitely on that page.
Definitely. So the king's wit, that's Hoid, right?
I mean, could be. He's certainly mysterious enough that you want to connect him to what we've just seen. Yeah.
Yeah, and he knows things he shouldn't necessarily know, and we know from the interlude that Hoid is out here doing stuff, up to shenanigans.
Yeah. Wanderer guy. I just like the wit, the concept of the wit. I know that it's not exactly a jester, so that's cool. It's got a different kind of feel to it.
It's a reverse jester. Instead of insulting the king, he insults everyone else.
Yeah, on behalf of the king. It's like he's got the king's backing. It's pretty cool.
And it seems like Wit likes Dalinar and his sons. He did poke fun at Renarin a bit, but Adolin thinks that Wit has always been a bit more good-natured about it with them. So that's nice.
There's just so much, but yeah.
I did like Dalinar talking about Adolin's love life. That was very much, again, sort of a father and his sons thing.
The way he's lost track of the woman. He's like, who? Like, which one? And it's it's kind of funny. I enjoyed that too.
We've got shard bows, and I like Adolin's reasoning for not liking the term shard bow.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with him. It makes sense, but I'm probably going to end up using the word because it's in common parlance now.
Indeed.
Yeah, so we've spoken about that. We have the monster, and also the gem hearts or whatever. They are actual creatures that are pupating.
Yes, and it is money.
Yeah, so they're creatures that are on the plateau, so that's what it's for. And yeah, you just get such a sense of, okay, cool, there is a reason to get that. Cool, they're getting that. But this whole war is just, it's like, It's a bit much.
It's a purgatory.
Yeah, it's just onward and onward. It doesn't. It's never ending. And I'm all with Dallin in terms of let's leave. Okay.
Probably for the best.
Yeah. It's been how many years? I mean, this is enough people have died for vengeance. I guess, or do something. I suppose you don't want to give up your vengeance pact because that's weak, right? Yeah.
Right. It would seem weak to be certain, but you've got to go about it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Elokar's paranoia.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think someone's watching him at night?
Probably something. I mean,
I agree.
he's. I understand the paranoia, but it's not paranoia if they're really after you. No, but
That's true.
it makes sense that it is something he is worried about, especially because that's how his father died.
Yes, except because it's how his father died, I therefore think that King Elhokar will not be assassinated, or that no one's trying to assassinate him. The damage has been done. I mean, unless it's another high prince. It's
Yes.
certainly not the Parshendi.
Yeah, it would be just some other political sort of plot. But that being said as well, that doesn't mean that I don't think he's being too many negatives. I think he's being watched.
Yes.
That doesn't mean he's going to be assassinated.
Yes, or that the Watcher is trying to.
Mm-hmm. Or that the Watcher is Parshendi.
Yes. In fact, I got a little bit of magical vibes from this Watcher, given how well that this spy, or whatever you want to call it, assassin, was able to disappear with absolutely no trace.
Yeah. Also, we get just in terms of this character. Okay, so we've got his paranoia. We've also got that there is the look. We had it with Dalinar and Adolin. Okay, so we have the Adolin Dalinar father son. My dad is greater than me kind of thing, but with Elhokar, he's also got that with his father because everybody loved that king, and now he's got something to prove because everyone finds him a lesser king than his father. And of course, they compared him initially to Dalinar in the beginning. So there's that facet of the character having something to prove. That's also why he has to have this golden armor and he has to go and do have a race. And he's the kind of king that you have to let win. Also, speaking about the characters, what do you think of Dalinar thinking of Elhokar as a boy? He says, "Damn that boy."
Elhokar comes off as a bit young and impetuous, and Dalinar comes up as a responsible uncle who's a little bit wearied. And I love that dynamic. I like that archetype.
But he's the reluctant. He could have been a leader beyond what he is, but he's supporting his nephew.
Yeah, that's great. And I think I would like to believe it makes me find it difficult that Elhokar will favor Sadeas over him, because it seems like there's a significant love bond between Dalinar and Elhokar. And perhaps that's born of Dalinar's love for Gavilar. And of course, we've only gotten mean thoughts about Sadeas thus far.
But we know he's got an angle, and he is. It's not that he completely doesn't listen to Sadeas.
Yeah, but I hope that Elhokar is smart enough to at least understand how the game is played, so to speak.
Yeah.
And know that Dalinar seems to be earnest in his care for Elhokar.
And the last thing, I suppose, the monster! We're going to go to the chasm fiend. This is the thing that they do. They just hunt these.
It's a smart chasm fiend going after the feast instead of the bait.
Yeah. Let's go.
Yes. And I like Adolin's perspective on dueling rather than
hunting. Yes, hunting. I love that. Yeah.
I got House of the Dragon season 1 vibes when King Viserys had to stab at the elk a couple of times and it just kind of looked pitiful.
Yeah, it's just Yeah, and it's right. It's like it's an animal kind of thing. Fighting a
Yeah.
man, fighting somebody with wits, with a mind,
Yeah.
a conscious mind, is more of an achievement to him. So I get it. That makes me think of the war as well. The war is just over and over again this tiresome, pointless, endless thing. As opposed to, hey, a duel, one person dies, boom, we're done. But this is a mill of just lives being lost.
Yep.
War not good. Mm-mm.
I think that's all I've got for the
Yeah.
moment. Thank you all for tuning in then. Exciting
Mm.
chapter.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks,
Bye.
bye.